He's just completely doesn't fill it off, which is trying to have city. So he has a most actually in this sentence. When both of the versions putting five they was a case. Why we don't understand it, nothing to do with the age of the southern children. But they don't get up down as soon as one of the first things is all the both older children in town, so it's the rock thing.
Rescuer that I listened to him. It's on the floor because he went and rolled it.
And then I just coax it across. Right, if we get started in a second, if that's okay with everyone, just a couple more people logging in online.
Sorry, I'm late. I've got a bit lost. I've been running around the building.
Oh,
Lisa.
You're fine, you're fine. You want to grab a seat anywhere?
Hi, everyone.
Takes it all down, but right, the QR code isn't working, unfortunately. So I will, people online, I'll put it in the chat. For people in the room, you're welcome. I'll pass my iPad around and you can sign in there. It's just the event registration. It just gives us a bit more information about yourself, your business, that we can tailor. It goes off to the Department of Trade, but also it means that we can tailor our support to you, a bit more personalised, a bit more what's going to be relevant to your business, following on from today's workshop. I'm Sarah from Smart Society, and we deliver the Ambitious Essex Growth Hub contract. Before I pass over to Liz, I just wanted to let you know a bit more about the Ambitious Essex Growth Hub. So basically, we provide businesses in Essex. We're like a one-stop shop. So any support you need, if it is looking for grants, looking for help applying for grants or finance, if it's that you want to access our one-to-one mentoring scheme, if it is that you want to come to some of our events, our networking, whatever it is your business needs, we are like a one-stop shop and we can provide everything, all the support. If there isn't stuff that we can't do, then we obviously signpost you to people that can support you in your business. Basically, we just want to help you grow, hence Growth Hub. We want to help you grow, thrive, and your businesses succeed. This is a hybrid event, so we are filming it online for people. If anyone doesn't want to be in the room, doesn't want to be on film or photos, just let me know and I'll make sure you're not in any of the pictures. Toilets, for people at home, they're in your house. For people in the room, if you go through the straight door over there, through all the hall, out the other side, if you're a lady, unfortunately you've got to go upstairs, there is toilets on the ground as well, and gents are on the ground. There shouldn't be a fire alarm, so if there is, we will go out fire door, but hopefully there isn't one this morning. And yeah, I've taped down all the wires, just be careful, and if you have got a phone call, if you don't mind just taking it outside, that'd be brilliant. It's going to be about 45 minutes. Liz is going to speak to us about everything email marketing, so hopefully we can get a really strong understanding, help with businesses and grow your businesses with those. Then we'll do a Q&A session. So again, people online, there's the Q&A function on there. If you type it on there, I'll represent you in the room and read out your questions. And then people in the room, we can do some networking after, and we'll look to finish about 1 o'clock. So yeah, lastly from me, hope everyone enjoys today's session, learns a lot about email marketing, and I'll hand over to Liz from Small Business Geek now.
Thank you.
Stand here in case I forget what I'm saying. So my name's Liz and my business is Small Business Geek, and we are a team that sort of helps all sorts of small businesses with hopefully everything they need, but we're quite heavy on marketing. We do lots of marketing support and help for small businesses. Partly why we're excited to be invited to talk to you about email marketing today is I'm really passionate that email marketing is a really good thing that small businesses should use. It shouldn't cost you lots of money to do. It should be quite easy to do, and it should be something that you should be able to have a go at yourself. Has anyone here actually tried email marketing before and got a bit stuck with it? You have. Did you continue with it? Did you enjoy doing it, or did you kind of think, oh,
so I have a website that I set up like a flow. So when people sign up for the newsletter, it gets them like 3 emails and then I have it.
That's good though. It's good you've got that far. Yeah, it is a bit more to put. Well, we'll go through today. We'll go through from the beginning of what you need to do, and we'll look at some of the tools that you can use that will help you with that. You said you've set up a flow, so you're kind of getting into some good tools there, and we'll go through all of those bits, and hopefully we'll have a few little interactive bits where you can gain some ideas and write some bits and pieces down. To just give you a little bit of a start when you get home and feel all keen, hopefully, and think that you might have a go at some of this, that you've got a kind of a few ideas to start you off with. So first off, why use email marketing? I think actually you're missing a trick if you don't use email marketing. We know so much about people. People like things feeling personal. It's a really easy way to do it. There's so many free tools and things out there. It is also, if you really get into it and you come up with your strategy properly, it's a really good return on investment. You can chuck a ton of money at pay-per-click ads, and I'm not saying that's a bad idea, but there is always a big multinational that's probably going to be able to put more money in pay-per-click ads than you are. And you can still get a much better return on email marketing. And I did find some stats from, they are 2024 stats, but they are showing that actually email marketing has a far greater return on investment. So your investment might be your time, or it might be money, or it might be a little bit of both. Time is always an investment as well. But for the amount of money that you put in, SEO is a great tool to use. Again, that's a whole other session. But it's quite for the long haul. It takes quite a lot of time to set up and get found on certain search engines, whereas this should be quite quick, and we'll show you lots of little tips today to help you do that. The one thing we do have to get on with here that is probably the boring 2 minutes of this is to talk about data protection, because when we're talking about collecting people's data, which we will be doing with this, it's really important to sort of understand what you've got to do. This is not an exhaustive list. Again, there's probably a 5-hour session in it somewhere where you can talk to everybody about GDPR and data protection, Sarah. I'm not offering to run that one. There's lots to it, and it can get a little bit dry. And I remember as an industry, we all got in a really big panic a few years ago about GDPR and would it affect us? And actually, some of it's quite sensible. So the key points, which I say are definitely not exhaustive, is transparency. If you're collecting somebody's data, if you're saying, please give me your email address, it's not just kind of going around and picking up, gathering a load of business cards or something and emailing them. You've got to get their permission, and they should kind of know what they're opting in for. So that's important. So you see kind of online, you'll see a lot of people say, sign up for this email to get all our latest news and things. I'm sure nobody's going to kind of think you're doing anything onerous with it, but just to be really, really transparent. Minimalisation, we don't need to collect more than we need. And it's really important to have a think what we need. So we'll be talking a bit more about that, about what to collect from people in a minute. We should be keeping information safe. You'd be amazed how many people I come across who say, oh, we've got loads of client emails and they're all in little scraps of paper in a drawer somewhere, which I wouldn't recommend. Personally, I would never be able to read my own writing enough to do that, but it's not obviously not secure. But a lot of the tools I'm going to recommend will help you do that without you having to sort of worry about it too much. They'll sort of help you out for you. And the final one is enable customers to opt out. Obviously, they're never going to be sick of all your wonderful content that you will send them. But if they look, and we've all done this, I think we've all thought, oh, God, this is the 5th time a day they've sent me an email. I'm just going to unsubscribe. They should have the way of doing that. And again, a lot of the tools that help you with email marketing will give you an easy way to do that. Okay, so if you want to look any further into data protection, that is the Information Commissioner's Office. They have a whole website about data protection. They do have some kind of fairly simple guidance if you want to go home and read about it, or if you're not sure and you're a little bit worried. but whether you could be doing the right thing or not, they're a good way to do it. If you don't really know whether the data protection stuff and GDPR applies to you, there is a self-assessment tool on there. Normally when I do these things, everyone will decide, oh, it doesn't apply to me. Probably applies to most people, but they do have a little tool in there where you should ask some questions, and they'll tell you, and they'll show you what you need to do next and things. It's quite a good piece of information on that site.
Excuse me, sorry, for your links and things like that, do you mind if we take a photo of these?
Yes, go for it. Yes.
Okay.
Oh, lovely. Thank you, Sarah.
Thanks, Lily.
That would be good. Thank you, Sarah. Yes, there is. Yes. So we could be here all night jotting that one down. Anyway, so something to bear in mind is the GDPR stuff. We'll leave it there for now, but there is more information there if you need it. So we talked about platforms and tools that we can use. There's lots of them, and I'd say have a bit of a shop around. I'm just going to put a few examples on the screen now, which you may or may not have tried before. For the example I'm going to be showing you today, I'm going to be using MailChimp. But you're familiar with MailChimp? Yeah, I think that's probably the one most people have heard of, but there's lots and lots of others. Most of them will start with some sort of free plan. So most of them are like freemium, we'd call them. So if you've only got 100 emails, or if you're only going to send one email out a month or something, then it's free. So there's no reason not to have a little play with it at the very least. If you're looking at this and thinking, I don't know, it's not actually a cost to you. It's all a cost to your time rather than to your pocket. Definitely worth having a play with. They all price slightly differently. They all have slightly different tools. The tools we're talking about today will be covered in all of those, but if you want to get into sort of much more complicated things further down the line, some of them do slightly different things. Some of them are starting to offer, which MailChimp is, are starting to offer tools to text as well. So, you know, when you get kind of like a text alert on your phone for a business, which some people like and some people really don't. But if that's something that you want to do, and you think that your customers would like that, then these sort of tools tend to do that. But again, they're good to just have a bit of play with and see what they do. Okay. So the first thing to think about if you're going to do email marketing is who you're going to send them to. Has anyone actually collected email addresses? Has started thinking about doing it? Have you got a few people that you email? So that's the first thing. If you haven't got anybody to send them to, sorry.
I was just going to say, there was a time I had a website and I'd asked people to put emails in there, but I never followed through with like a newsletter because that's the next thing for me. Like, I can collect the email addresses, but then how do I link it?
Is it the same business?
No, it's a different business.
So I suppose that is a data protection thing. Then is to think, well, you know, if they signed up for my business when I was selling shoes, do they want to know about me selling cakes or something? You know, it's like how connected they are or whatever.
And most of the time when I got the email addresses, people are interested, it was still there. And then I thought, how do I link it to them?
Okay.
Rather than going to maybe my Yahoo, for example, and start. So I never
this is what it'll be. So yeah, I think sometimes it's kind of like I've kind of got just an email address and I don't really know where I'm going next. So hopefully this should help you. So the first point is to be thinking then about who you can get to sign up. Tools like all of those we just looked at, MailChimp and so forth, will help you to do that, and we'll look at how you can kind of build a form to collect those in a minute. But the first thing is to think within your business, who do you ask? How do you get in front of them? And how do you say to them, who do you think is going to be interested in receiving an email from you? You know, maybe somebody who used to buy from you or who's bought something and you want to sell them a bit more. I've got some, oops, yeah, there we go. I've got some suggestions here. So existing customers, it's quite nice, depending on what you sell and what you're doing, to actually keep in touch with people. To say, if you bought this, perhaps you might like this to go with it. Got social media followers. If you're using social media, depends how many of these you've been to, how many of Sarah's workshops you've been to as to which things you're using at the moment. Social media could be quite good. If you're somebody that does events, if you've got like a thing that you sell and you go to events and things, I guess that would be you doing your glasswork. Website visitors, as you mentioned, if you've got a website, most websites you go on these days have got to sign up to our newsletter or our offers or whatever. and have a think about what points in your process when you're dealing with customers, or when you're out and about in the world, or hopefully going somewhere you might meet somebody potentially to do with your business, that you could actually ask for an email and collect it. So again, if you're sitting there thinking, well, I could do all of those things, but why would anybody want to? That's your question, is how are you going to make this attractive for people to sign up? Why would they want to sign up to get your emails? So there is things like, here's my, oops, I pressed that wrong, no, I'm all right. You need to create a reason to sign up. So it could be a giveaway. Sometimes you'll see people, I don't know, when I've been to like craft events and things, people will say, you know, sign up for our newsletter and we'll pick one out of the hat and give them 10% off or something like that, or you'll win this thing, things like that. They could get early access. So to our new product range, anyone on the mailing list gets the first look. Quite popular with kind of like clothes companies and things, I think, that sort of thing, isn't it? You get money off the next purchase. Again, that's a kind of a whole thing you could set up through one of your tools like MailChimp to just give them, here's a 10% off for the next 10 days because you've signed up. You see that a lot. A lead magnet, well, with that I would mean sometimes you'll see, would you like to start, particularly you see there's a lot on TikTok and Instagram, someone's a guru and they're going to tell you everything you need to know about getting fit or whatever, and they'll be like, you know, sign up here and you'll get my special guide for it. That would be like a lead magnet, so you'll get like a little PDF sent you with their guidance on it, things, or tips and guides, that sort of thing. So it might be that you can think of some more. So the next bit is our sort of little one-to-one exercise. So if your pen and paper handy, because you might get some inspiration here. If you're just with somebody else in the room, just think about, tell them about your business and think about why they might want to sign up to your mailing list, because we're all obviously going to go away and sign up to each other's mailing lists today after this. But have a chat to the person next to you and just tell them about your business and see if they can then feed back to you what might make them sign up. And we'll just give that a couple of minutes.
At home, I never to reflect on sound. Yeah, I can type it in the Q&A now. Feedback to you.
No, that's good, Sarah.
Yes. So we do have a manual. So we what kind of do you want to follow it? Yes, yeah. That's what I think I found out. Yes, it's good to get to know it's for you. So do you run that as well? Yeah. So what do you do? I'm on my own now. Basically, a bit like this. So I work with businesses that help people grow their business. But from HR, yeah, I make HR sales to my website, some my business cards, and that's the cases I build those back to job fairs, personnel, and I make cards. Simple. Because HR is quite scary. Yeah. They have no idea where to start. Especially because the one man's value they have. But I yeah. Yeah. So what I'm offering at the moment, yeah. And I'm giving a very well agency it's something that's for people who are in the school, they are going to have the rights to go and check with this, but it's one thing with policies and so I want to say just really. I've created this my policies and I'm trying to work based. So I was thinking, you know, about what your colleagues just said, perhaps the book would be free business audit. Yeah. No, free business audit or HR policy audit, and they sign up to someone who's they put out or something like that. So I was thinking about that. To reach businesses. Yeah, so that was the whole business. So I'm personally looking at my one client employees, set price, and that was the one. So I can do more. Focusing on supporting some businesses, and we've got a networking available for you. Right, but you get in the room,
And then hand them. That's like,
It's like, you're not trying that.
There is another one coming on, it's the old state in this one.
Cynthia thinks, right? Probably if I made my next decision until like start four.
Right, when you get up in your next yourself. No, I'm not for that race today. So I talked about people off the book. I've been a paper for many years and went out on my own 6 years ago, but I just launched a new product, quite bespoke product, against coming in. Guys might really, so I've realised over the years I actually want. I've been coaching to change the management, I've been trying to redundancy situations, but really this one, this is now new starters. They're looking for some sort of compliance, but then it's not their policy agreement, so it's each other to make sure that they're covered for all these things. So I feel like you don't really know anything, you don't know what they know. That's your colleague, they're going to see how to know the quality of this, it's actually well, I've got a phone now platform now, so I just work on access for doing employment law advice. So I'm maybe in a situation where it's not for employment law up in Hall. It's like the package that I've got. Yeah, so literally I'm not answering any HR question. Yeah, so that the family is still right. Sorry? I think I'll take the first. Yeah, well, even in the phone, that's what I'm saying. I've got something to say. It's a really complicated. That's working for someone at the moment. It's got like some music. Yeah, so someone who's got to start. Yeah, that's very long. Everything else about how do they do that for me? When does it run out? All these things like that you don't know. You want to make sure. So don't do that every day. Because that's not nice situations. Yeah. Yeah. So how is it? Yes, I think to get certain price. Things like that. So there isn't anything. So I might need to take off the answer it. But most of the time, it's like selling the soft things. You've got to in the supermarket selling some slows, where I've launched this recently, it's like maybe I'll go now then. Yeah, I just then started sort of PDF that this is stuff and then basically if somebody wants to finish this about I'm really about this work as well. So the whole situation in Brant Council is when you work
the county council funds it, but then over half of them
right,
so it covers the whole of
yeah.
Right,
And then it'll be the great help of seal.
Hey, one more minute and then we'll come back. Are you still talking?
There's loads of offers. Yeah, this is a week of 6 my friends the past, that's where I found out about it. I'm really popular as well. I've been to one of their meetings, I've been going to that one. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so has everybody got some ideas there? Do we all know why everyone's going to want to sign up to us? We used it very well. And hopefully everybody watching at home got some ideas down of perhaps why you might be able to lure people in a little bit. Okay. Now you want to leave it. Okay, so the next part we're going to talk about is segmenting customer groups. And we're talking about this now because it's part of the kind of thinking we want to do before we start building form, really. So segmentation, if anybody's come across that before, if you looked into marketing a bit more, it's a bit like thinking a little bit more deeply about your customers and putting them into little groups. So something we always do when we start talking about marketing with we deal with our customers to talk about who's your ideal customer. Because if you're thinking everybody in the world is my potential customer, that's a lot of marketing to get attention then. And what we really win on is to try and really have a good in-depth think about who our stuff is going to appeal to. You know, you can probably quite easily do a list of who it may not appeal to as well, so that you've got kind of thinking, this is my little group. But then to actually break your little group down a bit further really helps with communication. So, for example, something like this is really only going to appeal to people in Essex, so ambitious Essex. But perhaps if this was a company that did all sorts of events in all different places, it'd be really important for you to know where somebody was. Because, you know, if you're in Cornwall, you're probably not going to go to an event in Edinburgh. And it means that your marketing isn't wasted, because you're really targeting in on these people because you know that extra little thing about them. And often when we think about email marketing, we think just about getting an email. There's a couple of other bits, bearing in mind the GDPR, we don't want to collect more information than we need, but there is a few little things that it's kind of nice to know at the beginning something. And I think you all filled out Sarah's form earlier as well. And again, that's a way of kind of knowing a bit more about you, meaning that she can, when she's marketing other things, you can really hone in on people that are actually interested and not be bothering other people that have no interest in what you're talking about, but actually might be interested in a different product that you've got. So there's all sorts of ways of segmenting customer base. And again, it's another thing that we could go into in great depth. But sometimes, like I said, demographic, which would be looking at different regions, it would be looking at kind of maybe age groups if you're selling something, or your business, your product is something to do with children, you're probably looking at parents. You're not kind of going to be wanting to market to people that don't have children or that are kind of 80 years old or whatever. So it's really thinking like who is that little demographic, and then you can break them up into different age groups and things like that. Behavioural is to do with kind of purchasing habits. So again, you might have people that you meet doing craft fairs, like yours. I know yours is quite craft-based business. But you might have like some one-off stuff. So there'd be different groups of customers, and it's good to be able to segment them a little bit so that you can kind of tailor their marketing to them. Particularly in this day and age, we are very used to everything being personalised to us online, and the marketing that we get, we are very used to it. And you do see people get a bit kind of funny about stuff if they're not interested. Like, well, why have I got this? This is, you know, you should know everything about me. So it's a good trick to use, and it feels a lot more personal to people. If you can sort of segment and communicate specifically to different groups. So I've put some different ways of segmenting here, which might be useful to you. So we've said age, gender, income, education. Behavioural is how they find you with their website customer, or perhaps their face-to-face customer might be useful. Different interests, values, lifestyles, personalities. There's all sorts of things that might be useful to your business, depending on where you know them. We said geographic, regional, cities. There's about a million more ways that you can split it. It's often described like sort of segmenting an orange, really. But just to have a little bit of think about different ways that you're going to split up your customer base. So again, an example would be small business selling cupcakes. Apologise in advance, most of my examples are food-based. Particularly when I was writing this, I think I must have been particularly hungry. But for example, selling cupcakes, example, you might do mail order, and you might also sell in a bakery, and you might also have some wholesale customers. So they're all different ways of finding you. Still, I think selling cupcakes is one of the easiest things to market ever, because everybody likes pictures of fruit, or maybe that's just me. But you know, you could really go down to kind of, you know, what's your favourite flavour cupcake? You could ask that as a question when you're taking people on, when you kind of sign up, and find out more about them. You might offer them little offers and whatever. Chocolate ones are on sale today because you've got extras left over, or something like that, and you know who to target. You see a lot with little coffee shops and stuff with apps and things, that they know that you're that one that always goes in and buys whatever you buy, and will tell you that they've got some sort of offer on. Okay, so back to your partner, or swap around if you want a different partner. So for your business, think about who your target customers are. there might be more than one. And how you can break them into groups and discuss it with the person next to you. And again, unfortunately, if you're at home, you probably haven't got a person next to you, but you can still start puzzling it out on a piece of paper that will just give you a bit of help when you're building your form later. Has everybody got a partner? Or... Yeah. Teach you, Sarah.
Yes, and one of the things
Yeah, you can also depends on where they are. They've been training for a long time. So it's just their market sharing information on events and buying so you can suggest we don't necessarily tend to talk about issues. I'm just more about like it's something you don't see the so that would be I'm sure there's yeah, so you like it instead of that. Yeah, very nice. And then obviously it's basically trying to connect the dots yeah, great. So yes, it was so good. So it's where
How are we doing? Are we all good, or would we like a few more minutes? You good? You good? Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so I was just thinking, in terms of like my clients, ideal clients, which are parents with school age children. However, school age means you have primary school age children, secondary school age children. It would be nice to be able to separate the.
Absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely.
rather than then have two newsletters to the same parent, would there be a way to be able to combine them?
Hmm?
Would there be a way to be able to combine, for example, if a parent has got a child in year 6 and they've got a child in year 10,
Yeah.
you know,
So some people are going to fall into both camps, aren't they? Yes.
so rather than be saying, oh, parents with teenagers or school age teenagers or primary school age teenagers, is there some sort of way that any of those groups that will merge, have a middle ground for those?
Yeah, I mean, you could, it's how you ask the questions as well, which is the next bit, really, isn't it? Is how you ask those questions to get the information that you want. And also, there is within all of these tools, there is a send stuff to everybody button as well. So, you know, if you have something that's kind of quite general, you know, we're closed on Christmas Day or something like that, that you send to everybody, then you can do. But it's kind of nice when you're thinking about doing a particular campaign, you can think which of these groups is going to actually be interested in that campaign. Okay, so hopefully we're getting a nice list of ideas together here now. By post. There we go. So the next stage then, once you've got all of your thoughts there, is you can go on and make a sign up form in MailChimp or whichever platform you choose. So you just set up an account. You can have a free one in MailChimp. Some of them are a little bit more fiddly than others to get a free account. It's just a starter, at least. And MailChimp has lots and lots and lots of levels, as all of them do. And so they're based on different factors as to when you get to the paid level. But just for the sake of you having a go at it, set up a free account to try and just have a play with it. And it doesn't matter when you press all of the buttons, if you make a form and you hate it, if you've learned how to do it, at least. So really the basic things that you'd have on every form would be the email address. You can't leave that. I don't think they'd let you leave that out, but you can't really leave that out, obviously, can you? And obviously, I think their first name is always good to have. If you're doing business to business, that's what you're doing, then perhaps maybe their business name would be better. And you can use that, and you can pull that information forward to put into emails as well, so that you can personalise things a little bit more. But that's probably your basic stuff that you need. You then have all sorts of other things that you can then pull into the form of questions that you ask. So it might be that you say, you know, you put in some different demographics, different groups of ages, of what ages are your children. I think of a kind of way you could word that so that you could keep that information up to date as they got older, really, because there'd be a nice email that you could have when they got to left one group and went into another, isn't it, really? You can have drop down menus so you can select different things. You can have radio buttons, which is an either or. And you can, a really nice one if you're selling gifts and things, is birthday. You don't need their date of birth necessarily, but just to know their birthday's the 12th of May or something. You see this used a lot, and it's a really good tool to send them, like, it's your birthday month, here's a voucher, here's 10% off or something like that. I know when Paper Chase was a shop, I think it's gone now, hasn't it, sadly, but my sister, who's obsessed with stationery, used to wait for the Paper Chase email to come. I think it used to give you a £5 voucher on your birthday.
Sainsbury's.
Oh, is it? Oh, well, maybe she'll still get her voucher this year, you never know. But it's like it's a nice thing to do, and often those vouchers are not enough to get you too much, but it gets you in the shop, and you think, oh yeah, I'll have another thing as well. And it keeps that company fresh in your mind. So if you're selling something that's a gift kind of thing, birthday's gift, you're selling washing powder or something, it's probably not such a good thing. But it's a good piece of information to have, is that your address. You might need the address in mind of not gathering more than you have to. You might, as we were saying, actually, to sort of know where people are and things. Just the postcode's probably handy, the first part of the postcode, just so that you know, kind of, I'm talking to people in Chelmsford here, or I'm talking to people in wherever. It is obviously an American company, so it's going to have zip code in there, but we can work on all that. So it's just thinking about what those questions would be. Again, you don't want to have like a 24-page application process. You're going to keep it kind of nice and simple, but get as much information as you can. And if they're interested in your company already, then they're probably interested in in answering the questions. It's also worth thinking about when you're going to be using the form as well, because if you are going to be at like a craft event and sign up, they're probably not going to answer loads and loads of questions, are they? So it's kind of keeping it to a point that's sort of realistic, I think. Okay. Oh, and there's some more different fields and things there that you can use on the sign form. So there we go. That's the example of the sort of the radio buttons and things that you can use there. So they're quite simple to build. They're kind of the drag and drop kind of thing. If anybody's had a go at doing website stuff before, I think you're just thinking, oh, phone number, pull that in. And you can actually indicate whether it's a necessity or whether it's a nice thing to know. So obviously it has to be the necessity. Not everybody's ever going to want to give you their phone number. A lot of people live in fear of their phone ever ringing, so that might want to be an optional one, unless it's maybe a phone app or something that you're selling. And there's all sorts of different things. So you can get, as we talked about, segmenting. So segmenting, to start with, it's a good way that you could segment by postcode, and it gives you that option by having that information. But we do also find apps like MailChimp, once you've been using them for a little while, they'll think, oh, I can think of a segment here. And they'll start coming up with other ways that you can do it, so that it will be, you know, different. It will make loads of suggestions to you. So say you get better open rate if you send this at 6 in the morning and things like that. It will start suggesting things. And one of them is segmenting, which is kind of used. Sometimes it will come up with some mad ideas, but it can be really useful. So it will say really engaged subscribers, which is a really useful thing. And you can say, yeah, I'll have that one, please. Keep a record of that. So that's those people where you send the email and they always click it and they always read it and they'll always kind of act on it and they'll press the button in the email and things like that. So they're the people that you probably want to do a little bit more of, really. And that will find that out for you. So it's not one you kind of have to think about. It's one that these platforms will come up with for you. So then you've got your form, and then you've got these buttons here. So say, well, how are you going to tell anybody that this form is here? So you can share it straight from MailChimp or your platform. Most important is you've got that little link there. So it'll create a shortened link for you. And the form is standalone. And you said you were using Google Forms and things. So has anybody here got a website? You're building one. So you can embed the form in your website. So it will give you a little piece of code if you want to. And you build your own website. Hopefully you know what that means. It's not hard to do. Actually, embed codes are quite easy. Or whoever is building your website can do that for you, and it will just pop up. Your form will pop up on the website, and where you put it on the website. But there's a lot of people have it in the footer, where you can have a whole page. Just encourage people to keep in touch. If you don't have a website, you can get a standalone page here, which would be this page with that short link that you can then post that little link on Facebook or wherever you want to put it, and it will you'll still be able to collect that information. So if you haven't quite got to the point of having a website yet, you can still be collecting the information through a form that you can give out. And you can get a QR code as well, which can be quite handy. I've seen people have like QR code on the back of their business cards before. So if you're out and about, you know, if we're here today, we could all have a QR code that we zap. But again, that's quite a nice thing to do, and that will take you to the same form and let people, which is obviously what you've done, isn't it, with having your QR code. Again, it gives you easy access to give it out and make people aware of it. Okay. Okay, so do we know what our extra question might be? If you're going to have an extra question, if you're going to ask birthday, if you're going to ask something else, if we've got any extra question ideas? Yeah. Yeah. So I probably think there's a clever way of wording it so that it grows with you. Do you know what I mean? So that like in 3 years' time, you've been in regular contact with them for primary, and maybe you might want to do that for secondary. Just have to think how you word it.
Could you not do that through emails though? So you could say someone's been signed up with you for like a year, and you could just do I'm just checking, are we still sending you what works?
Would you prefer to go up to the next level? Yeah, I guess. So again, a lot of these sort of question things are quite really thinking that question through to make sure that it gets the types of answers that you're wanting, really, because that can be quite tricky. Has everyone else got some questions in mind? I think you did that. Oh,
From a creative point of view, will I go down the road of asking which room they're renovating?
Could do.
So that I can aim. I mean, it will change. They'll only renovate one room over a period of time. But try and get a succession. If they've just moved into a house, they might be doing the whole house. So
it should explain what you do, shouldn't we?
yeah,
Jan?
I'm a glass artist. I make splashbacks and large rooms. So I do fruit bowls. If it's a kitchen splashback, I'll do fruit bowls, placemats, coasters.
So you could ask which, because you've got quite a few diverse things there, haven't you? So you could ask what they're interested in, do you know? So wall art, I'd say probably anybody potentially that likes your style would look at the wall art, but
I don't as such have a style. I'm looking at going from doing small items to doing the larger items at the moment. It's always been a hobby, but people have been asking me more and more to do things. So I thought I'd better go legit and start charging proper prices, but then they might disappear. So I'm looking now at going Lux End business to customer, business to business. I'd still like to do the craft fairs, but move up in the ones that I do. Because I like
that's kind of quite interesting that they are two very different ends, so that you're going to have your high end and then perhaps your people you meet at the craft fair that might buy coasters or something like small. So they can even be two different lists. You know, you can have a second list where you ask different questions, and the craft fair ones might be, I'm going to be at this craft fair next weekend, come along. You know, they might be a bit more gentle, rather than you've got a very different message that you're saying to the other ones, are probably different questions you might want to ask. Like you say, which room are you renovating? What sort of thing are you looking for?
I did a craft fair before Christmas, which was particularly a Christmas oriented craft fair. And I had Christmas decorations for trees, and I do a wave, which is like an S shape that stands on its edge. And it might be a Christmas scene or an autumn scene, spring, summer scene. And I also, for the first time, did some 30 by 30 centimetre square bowls. And I got more interested in the larger things at this particular craft fair than the smaller things. The smaller things were selling, but I got more conversation about the large pieces and the subsequent to buy. But they want them more bespoke than what I had on show. So bearing in mind that I had on show, if they want bespoke, it's going to cost more. Oh yes.
That's good. That's a good way of meeting potential customers, isn't it?
I've got some of that. Oh, sorry.
We've
Got one online. I've just got the camera so you can hear me.
Online, they've said, I would ask about buy-in timescales. How soon are they looking to buy?
Great question. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, and it gives you a bit of an idea on how soon to contact them and whatever there. But yeah, it's good to have that little, at least extra question in your back pocket to think about, really. That nothing worse than having a great big mailing list and thinking, oh, if only I'd asked when their birthday was, I could start doing all of that.
I'm thinking about mine, because I don't know if this will be accurate or not. This business to business, asking them the business size, how many staff they've got, if they employ people, are they looking to employ more in the future?
Yeah,
because I'm targeting sort of 1 to 5 employees at the moment to make them business compliant with the HR employment laws. And then sort of moving on to the higher ones as well, like 5 to 10, 10 to 20.
So that's interesting.
Yeah. So
So it's that thing about how information that'd be useful to you to be able to, because you can talk very differently for a company with 1 to 5 employees than you of some, Amazon or something. So that's a great question. Yeah.
How many? Yeah, because I've been doing this for years and realised the compliance is what people need and want more than anything else. So yeah, you can sell the coaching later on, and you can sell, projects about change management. But actually, what people really want when it comes down to it, in my experience, is the compliance element.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So that's what I'm sort of specialising in at the moment.
Yeah, great idea. Great.
It's quite a new thing for me. So
lots of small businesses out there that probably just starting to take on people that can be really
trying to target.
Yeah, absolutely. So now we've got our 4. and we've hopefully got people out there starting to fill out our form. Probably get to a few people on the list before you start to send the email. But then you're thinking, how do I do an email? What am I going to say to them? And that's probably the next thing, isn't it, really, is to just have some ideas on what sort of emails that you're going to send. If it is just constantly selling, is that good enough? Is that the relationship you want to have with them? Is there other information that you could sell? We nearly always call these emails newsletters. Yeah. Have we got news to share with them? What sort of thing are we going to say to them? Did a lot of campaigns with a clothing company a while back, and a lot of that was kind of like, yeah, we could give you a voucher, that's fine, but also we're going to give you some fashion tips, which are always put down quite nicely, of, you know, of saying, well, this is what we've got in, this is how to style it up, those sort of things, and sharing blogs and stuff in that, for that industry, usually works really, really well, because then they probably look at like the things to go with this jacket that they loved, they wanted to buy. And it got people interacting, and it was interesting. It was something that they wanted to know about. So I think you've got to think, what actually does my customer want to know about? What do they want from me? You know, because we all like a little special offer. But actually, and I have to say, there's a couple of companies that literally send me special offers every day. I don't know who, but not little companies either. Things like if you sign up for ASOS and stuff, there's literally a special offer every day, and you think, it's kind of, you've lost it now, because it's like every time I shop, I'm just going to think there must be a special offer on today, you know. So you kind of want to be interesting without it always being that. But this is from MailChimp, where they're giving you some different ways to do it, ways to lay out emails. So again, you don't have to think about, I'm going to design this email and make it look beautiful. It gives you lots and lots of help with it. You can change all the colours and stuff on there so that it matches. If you've got a logo already, if you've got branding, if you have a website, or you've got ideas, if you've made a business card. So if you know what your colourings and everything is already, then you can make it all match up. And it's nice as you go through setting up a business and starting all these things off, if it does all feel quite cohesive. Because even in your own small little world, people will start to recognise your logo and things. And it's a bit of a sort of, oh yeah, I like that company. Even if they don't really notice that they're doing it, they'll recognise that colour scheme and things like that. You think, oh yeah, follow them on Facebook or whatever. So it's nice if you can kind of put your logo in, and you can use your colours that you use on everything else. Again, that's the whole other thing, is looking at how to sort of set up branding and stuff. But it does sort of help people kind of recognise you. And they've got lots of reasons why you can use emails. So to sell your products, so like we've got some new things coming out, or a new special new range, make an announcement, to tell a story, to follow up. So another way of using emails is perhaps you might use it to follow up meetings or something. So perhaps if you've been to a networking event or something, you could potentially use it for that, if you've got everybody signed up. And to educate, so to talk about what exactly does it involve when you order a piece of artwork from me? What on earth am I doing here to get to this? You know, it's quite interesting. So there's all sorts of ways that you can use that communication with the customer. You've just got to kind of think what to put, how often you're going to send emails and things. You don't always have to sort of say hello and whatever. You know, we're very used to getting emails. We don't need to be introduced to them necessarily, but just to think what those first couple of communications are going to be like, and what you want the customer, the reader, to do with those. So again, within MailChimp and within all of them, you get to design your email. So it's lots of, again, a drag and drop thing, where you've got lots and lots of little elements that you can add. You can put your social media icons, as you can see down the bottom there. You can put them on if they want to. You kind of, with all marketing, you're giving people some information, and you want to tell them what to do with it. So if you want to buy this jacket, I've got this new jacket, buy now button needs to be in there. So you've got buttons that you can add, and that button then takes you off to where they can buy it on the website. Or I'm doing an event, a craft fair next month, more information, click here and it will take you to where everything is. So it's just to give them that information. So to tell them what you need to tell them, then tell them what they need to do with it. You can put your text in there. You've got images that you can add. So it's all actually, probably you need to have it here and have a play with it and pull it all about and see how to do it. But it is a fairly simple thing to actually build an email. Perhaps just get some paper or a Word document and write out what you want to do first, so you're not under pressure. It's a bit like posting on social media. You want to kind of think what you're going to do before you do it. If you just think, oh, I've got 10 minutes now, I'll just run off an email, it may not be your best work. So to have a real think about what you're going to say. It doesn't need to be pages and pages long, because when you think about it yourself, when you open emails from companies, you're probably not going to read an essay. And if you've got a lovely blog to share, you probably want that to be elsewhere and to be sending them to that to read it properly when they've got time. Okay. So the next really important thing is the subject line. Again, it can be like, please read my newsletter or something. And it's probably, we all get a lot of emails, and that's the downside of emails, is that it's breaking through the noise and having that as the one that somebody reads. I think as small businesses, we were saying this earlier, people get kind of like a nice feeling dealing with small business. And generally, if you're going to be emailing them, they probably kind of know who you are somehow. But having a really good email title or subject really makes a difference. Because I know I sit there some days and I'll just run down them all and delete loads of them because I've checked the time for that today. So these were sort of my tips on it, which is to have titles that are clear and not too long, so you kind of know what you're going to get. That they feel personal. You can set up your email when you're configuring it on one of the platforms to actually include the person's name if you want to. Sometimes that can be a good thing. Rely on people's sort of fear of missing out. You know, you want to sort of make it feel like they're getting something good in here, whether it's an offer, and you don't always have to be giving something away, but something that they're going to want to know a bit more about and that they want to see what's inside. You may or may have not noticed this when you're looking at your own email, but you do usually get a little bit of preview text, particularly if you're looking on a phone. You get a bit of preview text, and you can put that in independently. So you have got a bit more room to put something else. So you might have to say, you know, 10% off until Sunday or something, and then, you know, shop our new whatever range could be underneath this, that. Just something else that kind of helps to sort of reel them in, because we're all really busy people. And you want to make sure that you're getting them to actually click on your email after you've done all of this work. And then emojis can be good. The jury's out of it. Some people hate emojis in titles, and it's also, they can look different on different devices. So be careful, because some of them can look completely different to what you want them to do. You know, some of the faces and stuff can look utterly terrifying on some platforms. So you don't, maybe wouldn't be a good reason to open the email. But just, again, have a bit of a play around with it. And again, the stuff within these platforms, they're all using AI and stuff to measure what you do and then tell you if that's a good title or not. And that, yes, on the one you sent on Tuesday, you've got a lot more opens than you did the one you sent on Friday. And you can kind of see maybe that is the title. So it's, again, having a little bit of practice and a play around with it. Okay, and then the other end of that we don't want to happen is for you to do all of this work on your emails and then they go into the spam folder. And if you ever open your spam folder, you'll find it is full of stuff like that. Quite often, people that haven't signed you up and that have just grabbed your email, I find. But you do sometimes get ones that maybe you don't ever open. They end up going in spam as well. So the little tips to keep out of spam is to don't look spammy. So I think not to do in your title line is put loads and loads of exclamation marks in, for example, because it looks spammy. You don't want to write in all caps. You want to just write normal as a normal human would, as much as you can do. And within MailChimp, it will ask for your domain, if you have a domain. If you don't have a website, you can have a domain with your email address and not have a website yet. I could probably give you some more information to send out on that one, because that's kind of a way around it. If you haven't got a website domain, you can still have a website address and use it for things like this. It will stop you looking so spammy. And it's also good if you're emailing people on spec, probably not to use a Gmail, to just use a, you know, me at Small Business Geek email address, if you can do, and you can verify your domain with the platform you're using. Not that hard to do. if you've got somebody working and stuff like that for you, then that's quite easy. But it does once, and it stops you going in that spam box. It stops you doing that work for nothing. And include enough text in your email. Don't just send pictures to people. It's all just, again, showing that you're an actual human, not just a bot sending things out. Okay. Oh, and the other one I had on there was consistency. So not that you like send 17 emails 1 week and then they don't hear from you for another year, which is quite common. It's a little bit like social media. We have like a couple of days and we're really, really keen, and then like, oh, I'm not doing that anymore. Again, can make you look a bit spammy, can it? We've all been there, haven't we? We've all been there. The other thing, again, which sometimes goes down a bit like GDPR, really, is the understanding results. Personally, I love a stat. I like all this. You get with all of these things, every sort of marketing you do, you'll always end up with loads of stats. They are quite important to have a look at. I'd say pick a couple if you find it a bit overwhelming, but you can have a look and you can see how many deliveries you got, how many people you sent emails to, how many actually unsubscribed. If they're not interested, it's good that they're unsubscribing, I always think. How many were delivered? So again, if maybe you've got them to sign up and they've spelt their email address a bit wrong, they'll probably be the undelivered ones that you might want to think you want to be with them, and if they're not going anywhere. How many were delivered? How many people actually opened, and how many people interacted with? So say you've got a button on there, how many people pressed that button? And again, it helps you improve next time. If you're finding that they're not, a lot of people are opening them but nobody's acting on them, then you might want to do something a little bit more within the email to get people to do that. Another thing going down that road that you can do with any of these platforms, it's a bit more of an advanced thing, which is A/B testing. So when you set up your email, you can have 2 versions of it, and MailChimp will arrange who goes to what, but it will tell you which ones worked better. So if you think, oh, I don't know if that title's good or that title's good, I'm not sure which one I want to use, you can send it to both. You can use a variety for different people, and it will tell you the stats at the end. It will tell you what worked, and you can think, yeah, actually a bit of humour worked better than being a bit more, to the point. And it'll help you just to know to make your next one better. So all of it is just a learning curve, particularly at the beginning. You will get, so you've got a bit of an idea for your customer group and what they like and what they respond well to. But to start with, you're trying things out, and the stats will help you by telling you what works and what doesn't, really. Much as the stats are boring to a lot of people, not many people are as dull as me that enjoys a good stat, really. Okay, so again, having a bit of a look with the other person you're sitting next to, thinking about what to send people is kind of a good thing to look at yourself. And we all get lots of emails. What do you like to receive from businesses, and what do you not? What do you think, oh, I'm going to delete this one again, or I'm going to unsubscribe here? What's your preferences, and what things do you dislike receiving in an email box? So I'll give you a couple of minutes to have a little think about it with a partner, and we'll talk about it, and see, have a think on your own if you're watching on the webinar.
What you got back in and so I quite like seeing but from a work point of view, it's events with players.
I think it's about Charles, a lot of HR major around. So this subscribes to a lot of things, so so much free trying that it's unreal. Yeah. That's what we're trying to be able to. It's like the right thing what they're doing. They basically tell you so this all over. They're not using this book, they're almost telling us massive smooth sales. These are all your changes that come out. You really don't need their services. Yeah. Yeah. And I suppose it's waiting for them to
research. Right. Going to come back a bit quicker this time because we are coming to sort of towards the end of it. So what did we decide? What emails do we not like getting? How frequent do you find is too frequent?
Every day. I'd say every other day. Sometimes people ask, I've not had any email from you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I stayed at a Western hotel once and I'm getting them almost nearly every day, so I try and subscribe because you know you're so busy.
It's not an impulse thing, is it, staying at a hotel? You're doing it for a reason, aren't you? Yeah, yeah. How about you? Come up with anything?
I don't like because if you constantly feel like you're trying to sell something,
Yeah.
for example, Amazon. I would say, go and check something now. Oh, yeah, I suggest this week. I sometimes say that Amazon, most of their emails either go to spam or don't come through. But if it's something like Prime Day, I will get that.
Oh, yeah.
My inbox. So I think they probably know what my emails and they're the version they can use it.
Yeah.
I just realized that.
It is, so too often is probably the thing, or things that you're not interested in. Yeah, so it's a good learning curve, that. So those were some ideas I had about different ways that you can reach you, things that you can use them for, so newsletters, reminders, things, reach out to former customers, lead generation. The longer you go, you will end up with a lot of former customers and you think reignite them again. The main thing that's sort of the ending part here is to just use a quick example of a piece of work that we did a few years ago that really kind of was great for businesses to getting them to use email marketing. So we were approached by a company that owned 3 garages around where we are, which is Colchester Way. And they were sort of feast and famine. They either were really, really busy or they had nothing. And they were employing a lot of staff that sometimes, if they weren't busy, they were paying staff to sit and do nothing, which as a small business is absolutely heartbreaking. And we noticed they're a really local company. They were really well liked. They did good work. And their customers were really kind of big sort of champions of them, but obviously you don't go and get your car fixed unless it's fixing, do you? So we came up with an idea that they should start collecting emails. They were quite paper based, so it was a bit of a change of culture, but they should start collecting emails at the point where somebody paid and just say, would you like us to keep up to date? And we ran campaigns for them on MOTs. So they were an MOT supplier, but I don't know about you, I never get reminders about my MOT. And I'm always like, oh God, it's next week. It's a really useful aftercare thing that they could actually send that was also marketing. And when we're saying we don't like being harassed, insulted, it was kind of selling to them, but it was a really useful reminder. And the more we got into it, the more information that they got, and it became a daily habit that they were just collecting all this information of people. So their extra question is, when is your MOT due? Once a month, they could send out all of those reminders to people, and then suddenly they were getting really consistently booked. And once they'd set up the whole process of it, it ran itself. So every August, 1st of August, it would send out to everybody due in August. And they didn't actually have to do anything to it, but those emails were consistently getting the phone ringing. It's something as simple as that, that if you can have part of your process that brings business in like that. And it is also that kind of aftercare. It's really good customer service to remind people about things and not just take their money, wave them out the door and think, well, let's hope they come back next year for the MOT. It's kind of getting ahead of that, really. So that's a way to use it. We've had a quick slide on automation, which is a little bit more of an advanced thing. I know you were keen on thinking about sort of some of the flows and things, so we can have a bit of a talk about that afterwards if you like. But there's some examples of that there, of ways that you can integrate it. If you've got a website, most website platforms you can integrate email marketing in so that it kind of is aware that you've sold something and maybe sends a follow-up of hope this was all right, please leave me a review or something like that.
So it happens to SMS. Wow.
The SMS is a very similar, you'd again have to collect mobile phone numbers as part of your process, and it works very similar to setting up the email.
Surely there has to be
through yes. Yeah, so I think the SMS is on the paid packages, but again, it's very similar to set up as setting up an email, really, and it's done through the same system, and you can do both as a campaign to the same people if you've been collecting phone numbers. Again, it's a bit of a swings and roundabouts one. Not everybody likes getting texts, but it's knowing your customer group, and if you think that's something that's kind of sort of acceptable within your customer group, then they can do really, really well.
What's the question, please? So if you use automation, would it kind of tell you where each leads come from? So, for example, LinkedIn versus Instagram, when you go into membership group, if you're using that, will we tell you where each client
Well,
come from?
Yeah, you can gain that if you want to know where each sign up has come from. Yeah, you can set stuff up to manage that, to do that, to see where they're actually coming from. And then obviously once they're on your list, then hopefully they will be driving you some leads, and then you can measure how they've got from there, really. But yeah, stuff like this we like that you can happen without you physically having to be involved in the moment. So automation is good. Quite satisfying when you know something's going on and you're sat somewhere else doing something else. Anyway, I'm here for a bit if you want to have a chat. What if you? I think we've got some questions coming up as well, haven't we? That's my details. If anybody has anything they would like to ask further on. Did you have any questions on the chat?
Question on the chat was, what would you recommend dividing my groups into if I'm a sort of a tradesman? So would you do per, how would you recommend that?
Oh, okay. So I guess a tradesman could be like a plumber or a carpenter or
Yeah,
something like
that's
that.
good.
I mean, I suppose it's sort of, I suppose it depends on your business, isn't it? How it works. As to, you can do it regionally if you travel a long way. I'd say there's also sort of like what type of work they want done. If it's like you're a plumber and sometimes you're the customer that calls the plumber when there's an emergency, or like something's broken, or like tap has come off and water's everywhere, or something like that. Sometimes you're the person that pretty similar to what Jan was saying, actually, that you kind of you want something big done, I want your bathroom done. So maybe you could ask that question. Are you looking for a big project in your house? Are you looking for a kitchen or a bathroom fitted or something in the near future? Might be a good one, because obviously they're nice big pieces of work, whereas, you know, me who's broken something and wants you there tomorrow isn't such a big piece of work. But obviously those customers are nice and consistent, and those sort of people you could try and push for bigger jobs as well. Then you could use your marketing to sort of encourage them. Did you know I also do this? And you know,
Could they also do if they're a like domestic customer or a business?
Yeah.
absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Because again, you would speak very differently to a domestic customer than you would to sort of a business who might want a whole, you know, outlet refitted or something like that.
And they can break it down into full installation,
Yeah.
i.e. of the bathroom or kitchen.
Mm.
They can work with the kitchen fitter to do that, or repair, or
Yeah,
solar installation like toilet systems.
Yeah.
They
yeah.
can do
So
tap
perhaps by sort of the type of work you do, really.
Just with the MOT example again, if there are gas engineers and you service someone's boiler, you could.
Yeah.
So you could, I never remember one of these services.
Yeah.
You could just
It
send
surprises me that people don't do reminders like that when you've got something that
Yeah.
needs to be done yearly, because it's actually not paying getting that email. It's a real service. It's a real add-on.
Instead of their birthday, your
yeah.
MOT date or your gas certificate date.
Absolutely, absolutely. It'd be actually really handy for people to do that.
I
Yeah.
had another one online. How should businesses balance email marketing with social media efforts?
I'd say perhaps it's a bit of a different message that you're going to be talking to them about in email marketing. I think they do go hand in hand, but I think if it's the same with email, with social media marketing, you don't want to be sort of saying the same to everybody. Social media is kind of a way of segmenting people as well, really. Perhaps your Facebook group that follow you probably are quite different from your TikTok group that follow you, and perhaps your messaging is different there. So it's kind of you've probably got a little bit more of an understanding of your email marketing list that maybe make it a bit more personal, maybe make it feel like you're talking to them a little bit more. Whereas it is mass marketing. You do a TikTok, it's like loads of people are going to see it. Loads of people don't even follow you, particularly TikTok. It skews to that. The people that don't follow you see all that on TikTok, and that's yeah, absolutely. So I'd say be a bit more personal, your emails.
One last one online, and then we'll do some networking. How can AI support email marketing without losing the brand personality?
depends what you use it for, doesn't it, really? All of these tools and all tools, all the business tools we ever use now have AI in them some way. They're really good for the analysis. And like I say, it's AI measuring what you do and coming up with suggestions all the time that will tell you what's working, what's not working, and was giving you suggestions for segments when we looked at that. It was saying actually we could make a whole sort of separate list here of people that are really high users and very engaged in the business and things like that. That's where it's really useful. Again, you can use it. Probably what most small businesses use it is for writing. Not everybody's very confident in how they write. It is kind of like a special skill. I'm very lucky because within Small Business Scale we have copywriters, so I can give her all sorts of rubbish and she makes it sound really professional. But AI can be handy for that, but I'd just say you've got to kind of not take that as the final version. I'd say if you're not sure on writing something, AI can help you and it can get you first draft and stop you sitting there worrying about it, staring at a blank piece of paper for hours on end. But then perhaps you need to go in and polish it and you need to think, is this all factually correct? Because you're the expert on your business, and maybe think, well, could I put something a bit like more personal in there to, you know, is this something maybe I'd like to reword? Way easier to edit a document than it is to write it from the start, isn't it, really? Yeah. So that's probably how I'd use AI with it. But like I say, the bit that's built into all these tools can give you some really interesting data, and then it's really useful, I think.
Do you know if using AI would trigger spam filters? Because I know that a lot of, like, if you apply for a job now, they scan for AI, so I'm not sure if it's the same for.
Yeah, I mean, I'd just be careful. I think a lot of it, particularly the written word, I'd always be careful with AI and look at it as your starting point. There's certain things that trigger that something say I like putting lots of dashes and things, which weirdly I do anyway. So I'm literally writing like a bot. But if you put lots of dashes and things, it sort of flags things up and stuff. But again, it's your first draft. It's not. Play around with it and make it your own before you post it, and that's for social media and stuff and website work and all of that as well. I think it's a great time-saving thing, but probably you still need to be putting your own thing in. The edge that small businesses have is that we're a person behind the business, so don't remove that by using AI too much. It's good for your draft, but your final version should be you, I think.
Well, if we leave there, and then so you can network in person. I just want to say thank you, Liz. We've learned so much this morning from email marketing, how to write them, how to get our groups, how to everything. So you've gone over so much, so thank you so much for that this morning. And hopefully we can all apply it and grow businesses and sort of use it to get those businesses in, get the leads in, and then convert them into sales of splashbacks and HR and everything.
Absolutely.
Just want to draw your attention to a couple of things. The Ambitious Essex Growth Hub, we're going to be at the Brentwood Expo, so the South Essex Business Expo, on the 14th of March. So if you're in the area, we'd love to see you all there. And then if you keep checking social medias and our website, we will have more events going up in the next couple of months, or hopefully in the next month. But yeah, thank you everyone for coming. Thank you everyone online for signing in virtually. And unfortunately, we have to say goodbye to online people now, but in the room we can all do some networking and ask those more in-depth questions.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry. Thank you.
I'll just turn this off.